Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is Motorsport Manager. This is episode number 27. We're at Singapore. I've already done qualifying. I was actually planning on doing half to two-thirds of the race prior to going live to try to actually get two races into one episode. But then things got really interesting. First, in qualifying, Q1 was wet through half of it. And it did affect 4 drivers whose times were way off from everybody else. Ericsson, 11.5 seconds behind. Magnussen, 10 seconds behind the time. Ricciardo, 9.5 seconds behind. And practice dominant Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton, 8 seconds behind. You can see how much quicker he is compared to Magnussen, Ericsson, and Ricciardo during that session. But he never went out when the track was dry. And then you can see from there, Wickens and my first driver, Verstappen, this was compared to his time in that first session. They're eliminated. Vern gets through to session 2, where it was dry throughout. Verline's slowest, Vern's second slowest for P17 as a start point. But you can see the other thing is that not only was it a little wet during qualifying, but it's a little bit wet right now. And you can see the strategy is very split in the field. Here's what we're looking at for conditions. It's going to last a little while. I mean, we're looking at a good 15, 16 laps of a damp track. But right now appears to be the worst that it's going to be. Or just about the worst it's going to be immediately within the first... the lights going out and the first about 3 laps. But it's only damp. It's right on the edge though. So maybe it rains and maybe for 3 laps, those on the intermediates have an advantage. But then that advantage is going to go away almost right away. So you can see quite a few cars opting for the intermediates. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8... 9, 10, 11 cars on the intermediates. So roughly half the field. Very split strategy. We'll see which one pays off. I have a feeling, just based on the fact that it's only going to last a few laps and that they're only going to have a minor advantage for those few laps, they're going to get to the point where they have a pretty big disadvantage soon after, and those 11 cars are really going to lose a lot of time. Meaning, even though Hamilton's starting way from the back of the grid in 21st, because he's on the mediums, and the other contenders are on intermediates, other than his teammate Timo Glock, I think Hamilton still has a chance in this race. Maybe Glock runs away with 1, and I wouldn't be surprised if Hamilton could get all the way back to about 2nd place. Let's go ahead and get the race going, though. Yes, I am sure. So we are on the super soft compound, not the ultra soft. This is not a one-stop race. The distance we have to cover, 2 sets of the super softs and 1 set of ultra softs will get you to the end. Or you have to go to the mediums to make the one-stopper work. And the mediums are much, much slower. And there's no way you could make a 2-stopper work on the Ultras. It would have to be at least a 3 or 4-stop race, as they do not last at all. Their shelf life is very short. Excuse me. Alright, well with that, we are ready to go racing. Sorry, I'm coming off of a bit of a cold right now. 5 red lights here in Singapore. Like one of the more underrated tracks out there because of the tight wheel-to-wheel action. A lot of people are not a fan because there aren't a ton of passing opportunities in real life. But of course, in this game, it's a different matter. Passing is always an option. It's not as hard to follow a car as it is in real life, which of course, 2021 is right around the corner with a chance to finally address that, making it a lot easier to stay close to a car on a track like this, and meaning you could actually get a lot more excitement out of these races. Verstappen making his way through the field well right now in 18th. Vern is 23rd. The intermediates are working their way to the front. But we're not looking at massive gaps or anything as Verstappen locks up a bit on that corner as the Sauber in front of him did. Bunch of cars under investigation. Gasly has taken on a flat. He's had to pit. Luckily, he was close to pit road when that happened. So Gasly already on one stop. Verline, the only one who's not quickly making his way through the field, and Glock, the only one who is not quickly dropping down the order. But Hamilton, meanwhile, is all the way up to 14th already on just the second lap. Meanwhile, Verstappen running well in 17th, doing well. He's ahead of all the mediums. It's the ultra softs that are going to be the problem. But if Vern can make his way up through there as well, we'll be in pretty good shape. Rosberg with a problem. He's got both a flat and probably a new wing having to go onto the car. He does pit relatively quickly, so he gets back out there. Comes back out in 23rd. Gasly has gotten around him. Wickens is in last place despite all of that. Vern is the next car ahead, though, so he's not running terribly well to start this race. Verstappen doing pretty good in 18th, and despite the wetness, we are still having issues with overheating, so we need to bring it on down to neutral, and hopefully that does the job and will bring us down. Having a look on the Renault of Daniel Ricciardo. He's on the mediums. We both lock up going around the corner. Luckily, we did not collide with one another. And again, that looked like it started with Raikkonen. And it was the same corner. Raikkonen having a bit of trouble with that corner, and it keeps catching out the cars behind him. So far in this race, it is the Ferraris that are running away with it because of the advantage that the intermediates had early on. But you can see just how dry the track is now. That advantage is definitely gone. First 8 cars are all on intermediates, but let's see, as Glock should be coming back at those guys now. Still overheating. We're going to have to go to conserve to bring the tire temps down. We are looking at a little sprinkle again, another little shower rolling through, but it shouldn't affect things much. We're going to speed things up here on lap number 5 for a little while. Running currently P17, P21. It's backed up from 12th to 23rd. 12th to 23rd. Wickens way off the pace. So he's got some sort of issue. He hasn't even pit. Gasly's making his way back through the field now after his early pit stop, his early puncture. And he's back into 20th. But otherwise, top 3 cars running away with it, and then we're kind of backed up to 11th or 12th for the midfield battles. Hamilton has already recovered all the way to 9th place and is behind his teammate, now past his teammate, battling his teammate for position, and that's Hamilton all the way up into P8 already. Here comes a little rain, another little shower. Those on the intermediates gained a, well, 2 of those cars anyway, 3 of those cars gained a pretty hefty advantage, and they were starting to go backwards, but here comes a little rain, so we'll see what happens. Hulkenberg, Kubica, and Wickens all pitting, all fixing problems. It's good for us. A little wet is really helping us out. Okay, let's go back to neutral. Tires have cooled. It's a little wet again. We'll see if that helps cool the tires as well. Right behind the 2 McLarens at the moment. Ricciardo, who's not been able to get by all this time, is now coming. So is Gasly. So we've got a little sandwich, 2 cars either side that are far superior to our car. But we're hanging in there. It's kind of nice too, because 3 of them are on ultra softs. And the ones behind us that can't get around are on the mediums. Wow, no, those tires immediately go right back to nearly overheating in a very short period of time. think next time when we go to neutral, we're going to have to back off on the fuel, as we have a pretty hefty deficit at the moment. It looks like so far anyway. Ooh, Max unforced error that time. Same corner, third lockup. Nobody helped him this time, but he ends up losing 2 positions out of it. Right in front of him is now Pierre Gasly, who still has damage to his car. So his early puncture came with a collision, and that collision came with damage that he did not repair at the time. That could DNF from, or have a lengthy pit stop coming. Verline pits. Seeing those on the intermediates now, finding that it's time to get off. The advantage that they had early, lost. Verline just behind us, though. Now on fresh super softs, this is not necessarily a good thing. Those guys did gain a little bit of an advantage from it. And from here, you would think Verline could probably make one more stop with super softs at either end work. Gasly retires. Mechanical issue. Told you he could be. And there you go. Blown engine. Pulls off to the side. Though it may have been gearbox related, I would imagine, based on the damage. Or the likely damage. Right? It's either a wing or a gearbox. Norris pits. Those on the Ultras now going backwards. Down to just a few cars on mediums that haven't pit. And then myself and Vern, kind of the 5 cars that have not pit yet, other than Glock and Sainz and Raikkonen, who are all about to pit. Magnussen just made his way through on his fresh super softs, and we are now in 13th and 14th. But we have a big deficit on fuel. It's time to start letting that come back a little bit. We're not close to being lapped, but we're also not that far away from being lapped. Vettel is way out in front right now. Hamilton has already recovered all the way to 3rd, but that's going to be a really big gap for him to cover. He hasn't stopped. Vettel has. Vern running a solid lap. 2 green sectors. That's on neutral. All 3 sectors go. So that was good. 45% on the wear. Both drivers pretty locked in together. It's not yet time to pit. We're looking at still... We need to get at least 3 more laps before we could pit, and then it would be super softs for all 3 stints if we only get that far. If we go a little bit further, we might get to use the Ultras for the final stint. Glock pits comes out in 5th, and we're down to just 5 cars that haven't pit. 3 of them on mediums, plus my 2 drivers. Hamilton pits, has a problem, so he did take some damage. Fixes it, but he comes out in 4th place. Not bad considering the start position he had on the grid. Now at 22, going on 23 laps. We could both still make it a little bit longer, so let's stay out there. Still running solidly P12, P13, but we're very much off everybody else's timetable on pits. Though looking at Rosberg's going to have to pit similar to our time, even though he's already pit once in this race. There are a lot of drivers on the super softs that are going to have to pit in the not so distant future. But at 32%, we've got a little bit of time. We can still run. Vern under pressure now from behind. And he gets past not once but twice. One of those just looked like a Ferrari. It was. That was Vettel who just went through. The race leader, Vern, now a lap down. %. We're going to pit before long. Right now, if we were to pit this lap, it would be lap 54 if we win another 27. We'd have 13 to go. 14 to go. So it would be 13. Anyway, so we're in P12 and 14 right now. I love the position we're in because obviously that equals points. But strategy-wise, we're not there yet. I'm going to bring Vern in this time. So we're going to go ahead and push. And Vern, though, I'm wondering, hold on. These guys are both at the same. Vern, you need to hang on one more lap. I'll bring Max is further ahead. He gets the advantage. That's how that works. Preferential treatment goes to the first driver. Max 22%. This is the right time to bring him in. Good stop. And we'll go neutral, neutral. Actually, let's allow him to push for a little while. Okay, Vern, your turn. Yeah, 19%. So he's just gone off the cliff with one straight to go. He might lose a little bit of time on that lap. Probably not much. But he is 8 seconds behind his teammate when they come out. Run neutral, neutral. You don't have the spare fuel. You've been running harder than your teammate. How far behind was he before they pit? Hard to say. But it was probably more like 4 seconds, not 8. We come out in 18th and 20th. And we're now kind of right where we belong, where we qualified more or less. Ahead of the slowest cars. Behind every one of the quicker cars. Ricardo, Perez have to pit soon. Perez should go backwards. Raikkonen's going to pit soon. He'll go backwards. He's only 2 seconds in front of us. Wickens is going to pit again. Rosberg and Kubica have already pit twice now. Vettel's lead is 10 seconds. Hamilton is now back into third place, 30 seconds behind. He has gained quite a bit. He was 24 seconds behind before pitting. He definitely didn't lose just 5 seconds while pitting. I don't know where he was when he first came out, but I do remember that he was at 24. Though it looks like his advantage on those fresh ultra softs is now gone, as he is starting to lose ground again. Again, Ocon in 4th. Block is 5th, just behind him. Grosjean, solid performance there for the Haas driver in 6th. Cassidy 7th. Stroll, Leclerc, and Ricardo are your top 10. Ricardo finally pits. And he's going to be in 10th place after that pit stop. So good result for him. He's recovered really well from a poor starting spot on the grid. Verstappen around Raikkonen. Raikkonen pits. Vern also moves up a spot. That's P17, P19 now. Gaps behind Vern aren't huge. Gaps between the two drivers holding at 8 seconds now. Behind Verstappen is Hamilton. Here comes Hamilton. He is losing ground on Vettel, though, so his chances of recovering for the day not looking so good. I have not checked the weather in a while. Are we... Okay, we're dry the rest of the way. We weren't supposed to have any rain for this race, so I was surprised when it came both in qualifying and at the start of the day. And both drive... Oh. Sorry. Both guys overheating. Bad. That's bad for tire wear and for pace. Perez gets around Verne after he had just pit. Ericsson will pit soon. Magnussen pits, but he's still ahead of us. 5 seconds clear, and he'll be good to go to the end of the race on mediums. But how slow is he? Wickens pits, goes to the last. Raikkonen, I'm not so sure, but Rosberg, Kubica, Wickens, we should be able to stay ahead of all three of those cars. Perez hasn't been very quick, but he was on mediums for most of the race, so hard to tell how long he'll make it on those super softs or what kind of pace he'll have. Ericsson will have to pit before long. I think Verstappen will have him beat at the end of the day. Verne, I don't know. Both of them need to stop one more time. And for Ericsson, depends on what kind of pace he has. Stroll with a mechanical issue, but not out of the race. But he is pitting. And he could be there for a while, if we're so lucky. No, he's going to come out of the pits in 12th. A couple of cars do pit, and Verstappen moves up to 14th. Verne drops to 20th and lost some ground. I think Verne made a mistake there because he was only 8 seconds behind. Now he's 13 seconds behind, and a bunch of cars just came out right into that group. So now, instead of one car in between our two drivers, there's 5. I'd love to say Verstappen will stay ahead of a bunch of those guys, but I do think that the majority of those cars are now good to go to the end of the race. Verline started the race in last place, and yet, because he started on intermediates and actually gained an advantage from it, yes, the intermediates did pick up an advantage, he's going to end up finishing ahead of Verstappen, I think. We're going to lose a lot more than the 4-second difference between us, and it looks like pace-wise, we're not gaining enough on Verline to cover it off later. Yes, we might be able to go on Ultra Softs to the end of the race, but even if we do make it that far, I don't think we'll have enough pace, especially when the bonus is on the tire set we're on now. We do move up another spot as additional cars pit. Norris comes out 16th. Rosberg's going to come out last running car. Sainz still needs to pit. Both of my drivers still need to pit. Kubica probably will have to pit again. That's about it. Most of these cars will make it to the end on these super softs. And then our big thing will be whether we can go the distance on ultras or whether we have to stay on super softs, in which case the ground we lose pitting, I think Verstappen would probably finish about 19th, and Verne probably would drop back to 23rd, to be honest. That extra pit stop. Magnussen pits, fixing a problem. That's going to drop him back. Now in 12th and 18th. Again, I don't think we have the position taken yet. Raikkonen, Kubica, the only ones that look like they might still pit. Perez maybe, but probably not. I think he'll make it. We're going to need a little help. 15 laps to go. Comes Glock, who's nearly a minute behind. He is way off the Ferrari's pace. About 45% on each driver's set of tires. Sainz does pit, and he's going to come out still ahead of us. So Sainz maintains his position, comes out in P10. And you would think he should be quick enough to get around Leclerc. Maybe not. He did use he came out on mediums. No idea why. Must not have had anything left. Okay, I definitely think we will make the Ultras work. We're going to be down to about 10 laps to go. So the tires did last a little bit longer this time. Okay. Okay. Brakes are going as well. Next, we're gonna have to pit. This is a good time. From P12, but we're definitely going to give up a lot of positions with this pit stop. How much can we make up for it with speed? Ooh, hello! We come out in 14th. Wow, okay. Oh, that is good news. Vern, definitely going to pit this lap. Not fixing the car. Or trust that he can make it to the end. Good quick pit stops. And the corner cutting time that you save. Pit delta is not that bad here at all. Vern comes out 21st, but he's not last. He's ahead of Wickens, he's ahead of Rosberg. Kubica is going to pit. Raikkonen, Perez, Verline are all struggling on their tires. Stroll's struggling. There's still hope for these guys. Vern, though, way back in 21st, so he might squeeze a point. Verstappen's already in the points, and he could, and should have some pace to the end of this race. These tires heat up really quick, though. Vern's been lapped again. Oh, Vettel retires! Vettel is retiring from this race. It's a mechanical. Vettel is retiring from the race lead, from a huge lead. It is now his teammate, Valtteri Bottas. Yes, Bottas in a Ferrari. No, it's not Hamilton who switched to Ferrari, as predicted by some, but it is Bottas, who now has a 12-second lead over Lewis Hamilton. Glock, half a minute down in third. Ocon is up to fourth. Look how long it's taking for everyone to get by. Grosjean still has not made his way past Vettel. Just now, up to sixth. Cassidy, seventh. That's going to move Leclerc up. Ignore. Just a few laps to go, guys. So, we are now in 13th. It will be 20th soon. Bottas is still far enough ahead that he's ahead of Vern, so Vern's still staying at that 2 laps down with just a few laps to go here. Verstappen is 13th. He is 3.5 seconds behind Norris. Nobody looks... Oh, never mind. I spoke too soon. Cassidy is pitting here. But he'll stay ahead of us. Really, all we can hope for now, there's only 2 cars in any sort of range to us, and that's Norris and Hulkenberg. Last lap for Vern. So Vern, are you going to make it to the end? Yes. He could move up a spot. No, he couldn't. Last lap now for Verstappen. And use up that extra fuel. Finishes 13th. He's in the points at least. In the points. Bottas takes the win. Hamilton's second. He did recover for second like I expected. That was despite the intermediates actually gaining the advantage and not the dry compounds. So it was really surprising result on that part, as things did not go the way I figured that they would. Drivers ended up ahead of me that should have been behind me, like Verline, who benefited from the intermediates and then having to just take one additional stop after using the intermediates early on, in kind of a reverse of the strategy I was using. Instead of the ultras, they had the intermediates at the beginning. But that was a good change and didn't hurt us much. I really thought we were going to drop back further than we did. We only lost 2 positions with that pit stop, and we certainly were catching those guys, but we did not catch them. But the pit stop was necessary. Those tires were definitely not going to make it the distance, so we had to stop. If we're lucky, we can move up a spot this way. Hamilton had a drive-through. I noticed he had damage, so he ended up with a drive-through through that. So despite everything that happened, pretty lucky that he was able to get all the way up to second. But with Vettel, he still manages to get 4 points for the fastest lap and the pole. So he still outscores Verstappen, who finishes 13th. Verline, luckily behind us, just 2 points for the Audi, as we are definitely racing head-to-head with those guys. Grosjean, huge points total in that one. Moves up the order up to 14th. We gained 1 point on Audi, so they're now 5 behind us. Alpha, 15 down, 31 on the season. Approaching the end of the season. We're getting pretty close. I was kind of hoping the rain would come back again and the chaos that it brings would have benefited us by timing our pit stops, but I guess anytime we can get in the points is not bad. Clawed our way up to 17 million in the bank. It's a little better than where we were before. Alonso leading the F2 category. We'll get a quick update on the car. Pit crew I'll deal with later. I don't actually want him, but that opens him to talking to us. Alright, car repair finish. You can see the engine is now solidly into the midfield, 9th place. Made some progress on the gearbox, but it's still the worst. And the suspension. Everything else is still only a sliver above where it was at the start of the season. And we still have the worst car, which is really unexpected. I was hoping we'd crack the top 10 this season on the car. And it's not happening, despite the rapid improvement that we're making. But the engine should be done here pretty soon. It's only 10 days till Sochi. There we go, everything done there now. So there's our engines. We have new brakes done here any time. I thought they were going to be done. Oh, 6 more days. Well, I think we're going to be keeping one of them. That's the thing, is there's new brakes, so I really don't want to invest in this pair that's not staying. This one will go on car number 2 eventually. So we could certainly work on maxing that out. We could work on the reliability of the engines a little bit. Not that we need much in there. Still haven't even touched the gearbox this season. We're going to be moving on to that next. Rear wing is an area we could certainly invest in. And maybe we should start there instead of the brakes, since that's going on the second car. Let's get the first car maxed out. You know, Max's car. There we go. First rear wing instead of both at the same time. We'll do both. We'll do both. But we will go full 20. %40 chance of rain. 60 lap race upcoming on the next one. And there you go, that's the period. New part still not done. Done in 1 day, so we'll get it right at the end of the race weekend. Which means really no change at all. We just made a little improvement to the rear wing here. And of course that, 1 or 2 days to finish off the engines. So the engines are as good as they're going to get. And we made a little bit of progress on their reliability. At this point, new parts are the only thing that need anything drastic done reliability-wise. Though Vern obviously still got the occasional issue. His gearbox, 61% average. His brakes at 63%, and last race, both of those were down around 20% or in the low teens by the end of the race. But brake-wise, one more set of brakes coming, so he'll get the 94%, so we won't have to worry about that one anymore. And then we're going to begin work on the gearbox. And the moment we have something, we're going to be upgrading away from this. And so he'll inherit, Vern will inherit this one. And Max will get into something new almost right away. So pretty soon we'll be away from the unreliable parts that we've been actually spending almost all the season with. But we're just desperately trying to get this car competitive. It's just so hard to do. Still have guys in the queue. Yes, it's getting pretty short though. Alright, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Ready to begin with the Sochi Grand Prix. It's a really boring one, so I may do the entire thing off camera or just catch the final couple laps and prepare ourselves for Suzuka. That'll be the plan on that one. So we'll head to Japan next. That's going to do it for this episode. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.